Hello everyone, welcome back to the show. Today we are diving into a topic. It hits close to home for many dog owners. Have you ever thought about the carbon footprint of kibble? You pour it for your pup every day. What kind of impact does it really have? Many people are going plant-based. They do it for their health or the environment. When choosing food for our dogs, should we think about the planet too? A team of scientists at the University of Nottingham did a fascinating study. They looked at dry dog foods in Britain. They compared their environmental impacts. That is what we are chatting about today. This study was published in a journal. In a nutshell, the researchers wanted to figure out one big thing. Is plant-based kibble better for the environment? Or is traditional meat-based kibble better? You might think dogs are carnivores. They need meat, right? Actually, dogs are omnivores. They digest plant proteins just fine. More people are paying attention to pet food's impact. Here's something you might not know. The global dog population is huge. In 2018, it was 471 million dogs. Feeding all those mouths puts a massive strain on the planet. Even using animal byproducts has a high cost. Producing meat pumps out greenhouse gases. It uses tons of land and guzzles water. The scientists wondered about swapping meat for plant proteins. Could that lighten the load? This study focused on the UK market. Earlier studies in Japan and China had different results. You cannot apply those results everywhere. This was the first full comparison in the UK. It compared plant-based and meat-based dry dog foods. How did the scientists do it? They bought 31 different kinds of dry dog food. These were commonly sold in British supermarkets. They sorted them into groups. First were plant-based options. There were 6 in total. Next were poultry-based foods. There were 7 kinds. Then red meat-based foods had beef and lamb. They also added a special category. It included veterinary prescription diets. There were 6 of those. Once they had everything, they analyzed the ingredients. For all 31 foods, they looked at nearly 300 ingredients. They needed to know exact amounts of each ingredient. Then, they used life cycle assessment. This estimated the environmental impact of producing each ingredient. It included growing, processing, packaging, and shipping. They focused on 5 key measures. First was land use. Second was greenhouse gas emissions. Third was acidification emissions. Fourth was eutrophication emissions. That is water pollution from excess nutrients. Fifth was freshwater use. They converted all data into environmental cost. This was for every 1,000 calories of food. Here comes the big reveal. What did the results actually show? The conclusion was crystal clear. It was even a little shocking. On every single measure, plant-based foods came out on top. They had the smallest environmental impact. Beef and lamb-based foods performed the worst. They had the biggest environmental toll. Poultry-based and prescription diets fell in the middle. Let us look at specific numbers. First is land use. Plant-based varieties needed 2.73 square meters. Poultry-based needed 5.32 square meters. Beef-based needed 102.15 square meters. Lamb-based needed 111.47 square meters. Beef-based uses nearly 40 times more land. Imagine a 20-kilogram Labrador Retriever. Feed it plant-based kibble for 9 years. The land needed is about 1.4 soccer fields. Feed it beef-based instead. You would need 52 soccer fields. Now, let us talk greenhouse gas emissions. Plant-based food emits 2.82 kilograms. Poultry-based comes in at 4.68 kilograms. Prescription diets are at 4.85 kilograms. Beef-based is 31.47 kilograms. That is more than 11 times higher. Lamb-based hits 12.85 kilograms. For that same Labrador, plant-based food creates 2 round-trip flights. Beef-based food creates 31 round trips. The other measures tell the same story. Beef-based acidification emissions were 7 times higher. Its eutrophication emissions were more than 16 times higher. For freshwater use, plant-based needed 249 liters, lamb-based needed 683 liters, beef-based needed 574 liters. Plant-based dog food is way ahead in eco-friendliness. Why such a huge difference? Producing red meat is incredibly resource-intensive. Raising cows requires vast pastures. They need huge amounts of feed crops. Over 75% of world soy is for animal feed. Forests get cut down to grow that feed. Cows and sheep release a lot of methane. That is a potent greenhouse gas. Plant proteins have a much lower carbon footprint. Some might say dog food uses animal byproducts. Isn't that just using waste? This study shows it is not that simple. Byproducts have a really high environmental footprint. The source is still the cows and sheep. As long as those animals are raised, the impact has already happened. Feeding byproducts shifts the cost around. It does not actually reduce it. What can we take away from this study? It tells us pretty powerfully that plant-based dry dog food is a solid move. It is much greener than traditional meat-based foods. This includes land use, emissions, water pollution, and consumption. The scientists point out their research had limits. It only looked at production to the store shelf. It did not include dog waste or packaging. This study did not answer nutritional needs. But another study showed plant-based kibbles can be nutritionally complete. Overall, this research is a real eye-opener. The global population and pet numbers keep growing. Pressure on our food system will only increase. For dog owners, every bag of kibble is a vote. We vote for the kind of future we want. Next time you shop for your furry friend, look at plant-based options for their health and the health of our planet. That is all for today's show. I hope this gives you a fresh perspective. If you found it helpful, like and share it. See you next time.